Detroit Lions training camp 2020 has begun. I've taken a liberty of looking at the offense, analyzing the offense, and summarizing the offense. That's coming your way right now. Hello and welcome to Intermittent Sports, the channel where we go over these Detroit Lions, the Detroit Pistons, Detroit Tigers, and the Michigan Wolverines. So if you're a fan of 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of those teams, go ahead and subscribe right here. Hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the Michigan sports action. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it, starting with our quarterback, our boy, Matt Stafford. He's a legend, isn't he? Now the Lions are saying that he's back, he's healthy, and he's ready to go here in 2020. In fact, offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell states that he hasn't seen any of the effects from last year's injury lingering into this year's training camp. The Lions are raving about the fact that Stafford is really starting to grasp and understand this offense, and he's also understanding that he finally has some weapons around him, not named Calvin Johnson. He has a collective group of weapons. Overall for Stafford, everything is coming around nicely. And let's not forget about what Stafford was doing in that Bevell offense prior to his injury in 2019. At the time of going down, Stafford had 2,499 passing yards. That was good for 4th in the NFL at that moment. He had 19 touchdowns, which was good for 2nd. He had a 106 passer rating, which was good for 5th. And he was 1st overall in the entire league in passing plays that were 20 yards or greater. Basically what I'm saying is Matthew Stafford was a Pro Bowler prior to going down, and that's a great sign if you're a Lions fan. But alas, he did go down, and when he did, the Lions lost their next 8 games without him. That's right, for all you Matthew Stafford haters out there, we were limping at the end of the season when we didn't have him. I will say though, not all of that lands on the shoulders of David Blau, who was the number 3 guy at the beginning of the season. He ended up being the starter, started the last 5 games. He actually has some pretty decent statistics. He just couldn't get it done when it mattered most. He'll be the number 3 guy again. This time the number 2 guy is Chase Daniel, who takes the place of Jeff Driscoll from 2019. The Lions are expected to keep all 3 quarterbacks for the duration of this season because of COVID-19, or as long as COVID-19 is happening, because there's too many unforeseen possibilities for that quarterback position. In the backfield behind Stafford will be our 3-headed SEC monster in Bo Scarborough, the exciting pick in DeAndre Swift in the 2nd round, and then you have Kerryon Johnson. From the videos that I've seen, we don't really know who's going to be the presumed starter, but I would imagine it would be Kerryon Johnson given his experience. However, we're going to utilize all 3 of these running backs more than likely. Darrell Bevell has already said that he's open to the idea of a running back by committee situation. I think that's a good idea given the different skills and talents of these 3 running backs. They can all do different things, varying things very well, so I'm for it. They said they're going to monitor Kerryon Johnson very closely. Will he still have that same bounce given 2 knee injuries in 2 separate seasons? Will he still be able to make some of the cuts that you need to make at the NFL level in order to find the hole and hit the hole? As someone who's had an ACL surgery on both my right knee and my left knee, I know how hard it is mentally and physically to make those kind of cuts, to continue trying to be the active and productive running back that you are. It's a difficult thing to overcome. Although he probably had better medical treatment and rehabilitation than I did. Honestly, even from his first injury, we saw a drastic change from year 1 to year 2 for Kerryon Johnson. In year 1, he averaged 5.4 yards per carry. In year 2, he averaged just 3.6. That is a drastic change when you're talking about one season to the next, especially when he had the same amount of carries. Either our offensive line didn't do as well, or he didn't do as well. But I'm imagining with that injury, it was on him. This year, our fingers are crossed that Kerryon can stay healthy, make some guys miss, break some tackles, and be productive once again. Of course, DeAndre Swift will get plenty of action. We didn't make that pick for no reason. He's going to definitely get his and be a serious threat to be the number 1 running back on this team. Again, Darrell Bevell said he's very open to the running back by committee approach, but that DeAndre Swift has really been impressive for a rookie so far in training camp. He's noted specifically how good he's been on passing plays. He's been a good pass blocker, and more importantly, he's been great in one-on-one situations against the linebackers. He definitely presents a problem there. And when you have a running back like that who creates such a big mismatch against the linebackers, it's a great thing. Defensive coordinators have got to plot and scheme and spend a lot of late nights finding out how to stop DeAndre Swift, and in turn, the Lions offense. Finally, the Lions have been very impressed with DeAndre Swift's patience as a runner. That is something that a lot of rookies do not come in knowing about right away. They've been very impressed with the way he lets plays set up and then hits the holes when he needs to hit them. That's a professional virtue in a young body. You gotta love it. Then of course there's Bo Scarborough. That's a great guy to have around in short yardage situations, a guy that definitely gets downhill and hits the holes hard. Next up, the offensive line. Alright, so how about the fellas that will be blocking for both Stafford and these running backs, huh? Honestly, they never get enough credit, so I'm here to show them some love. Besides, all those weapons that the Lions have mean nothing if we can't protect Matthew Stafford and create holes for these great running backs. At left tackle, you're of course going to see Taylor Decker, no surprise there. Nothing really to say about him. Offensive line coach Hank Fraley says he's excellent as usual. Right now at left guard and running with the ones is Joe Dahl. Ex-Detroit Lions offensive lineman Lomas Brown said the best thing about Dahl is he's steady. He's always going to get the job done. You can rely on Joe. He's also fresh off of getting an extension from the Lions, so that's a good sign. Shows that he's committed to the Lions and the Lions are committed to him. Last season he had a 73 pass blocking grade. That's pretty dang good for somebody so young. At center, we've got a guy who Lomas Brown believes is going to be a Pro Bowler very, very soon in Frank Ragnow. Lomas says that his favorite thing about Ragnow is his leadership ability. He comes every single day, training camp, practice, throughout the season, ready to compete and be vocal and be a leader. And he's literally gotten better from day one every single day now to this point. One of Ragnow's greatest techniques is getting inside the chest plate very quickly. That's hard for a center to do. They have to snap the ball, get inside that chest plate as I mentioned, so that they have the ability to steer and execute and drive their opponent wherever they want them to go, much like driving a vehicle. Wherever you drive them, that's where they're gonna go, but you have to get your hands inside first in order to do that. Per Lomas Brown, Frank Ragnow is one of the best in the business at doing this. At right guard, you have one of the most up for grabs competitive positions on this entire football team. Right now, the rookie out of Ohio State, Jonah Jackson, is getting the bulk of the first team snaps, and he is also my preference to win the job. However, he does have Kenny Wiggins, Oday Abushi, and Logan Stenberg all gunning for his spot, with Kenny Wiggins being the main competitor. Now for this, it really comes down to a matter of preference when you're talking Jonah Jackson versus Kenny Wiggins. It's as simple as, do you want the prospective talent of Jonah Jackson, or do you want the experience of Kenny Wiggins? Experience is a big factor in the NFL, of course. Lomas informed that he expected Kenny Wiggins to come in and stake claim on that position, but for whatever reason, whatever the case, he hasn't yet done that. He stresses though that could be more of a testament of Jonah Jackson's abilities more so than a knock on Kenny Wiggins. We'll have to watch this one closely to see who does end up winning that right guard spot on day one. Who do you think it's going to be? Go ahead and comment that below. And to complete the line at right tackle, we have the big fella from Philadelphia, Halapulavati Vaitai. I think I pronounced that correctly. What is great about Vaitai is he has literally played behind two All-Pro guys in Jason Peters and Lane Johnson with the Eagles. So those guys were able to be his mentor and help develop him into the edge protector that he is today. Vaitai says that the chemistry for the Detroit Lions offensive line is excellent. He says that his favorite thing so far is to have fun, make jokes, cut up, and then when it comes time to business, they really get down to it. They come from this to this. Per Hank Fraley, teams are really looking into the Lions depth chart. That's how deep they are. It's actually almost unfair when you think that guys like Wiggins, Terrell Crosby, Oday Abushi, and Logan Stenberg, with all the skill set and talents that they have, are not even starters. In a period where coronavirus is hitting hard, that kind of depth is something to be sought after. The Lions have it. I don't think they need to give it away. Now without getting something great in return at least. Alright, let's look at the big tight end, TJ Hawkinson. Let's see what kind of training camp he's having here in 2020. Now our boy Tim 20man had a bold prediction for the 2020 season when it comes to TJ Hawkinson. When asked who was going to lead the team in touchdowns this year, he said, well, you guessed it, TJ Hawkinson. Last year, Kenny Galladay's 11 touchdowns not only led the team, it led the entire NFL. He was number one in that spot. Number 2 on the team was Marvin Jones with 9 touchdown catches, and he was 4th in the NFL. So literally, without Matthew Stafford for half the season, we had 2 guys in the top 4 in the entire league when it comes to touchdowns. So to say that TJ Hawkinson is going to get more than those 2 guys this year, that's a bold claim, but it speaks measures for TJ Hawkinson. Tim's actual prediction was that he was going to get 9 this season and lead the team. He said he's going to have huge fantasy value in the later rounds in this draft, and I, for one, absolutely agree. A healthy TJ Hawkinson with a healthy Matthew Stafford, that'll be a sight to see. In fact, I'm going to get really ballsy here and up Tim 20man's prediction of 9 touchdowns. I'm going to say 10. I think offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell has noticed over the years the success that a tight end can bring you. Guys like Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, Heath Miller, Antonio Gates. The list goes on and on. When you have a productive tight end like that, it really takes a lot of the pressure pressure off of the running backs and the receivers in the open field when it comes to pass catching. And having that extra weapon makes it very hard for defensive coordinators to plot against you. I have to be honest, when we drafted TJ Hawkinson, I was like, really, Lions? Why can't we make the sexy pick ever? But I am going back on my word. TJ Hawkinson has been great so far in his early time, even though he got injured last year. I expect big things out of him this year and moving forward. I think he's going to be an awesome tight end, a Pro Bowl type tight end for years to come. And you can't blame me after the Pettigrew and Ebron experiments. Those went drastically horrible. The 6'5", 250-pound brute says that this year he's all about having fun. Said last year he was a little bit too timid, a little bit too tight, and he really is ready to explode and have a good time here in 2020. For me, that's an excellent sign. For a lot of guys, the more fun they have, the better they play. He's doing things like being more vocal, he's screaming whenever he makes plays, really getting loud, really getting out there, letting himself be known, and he's even doing what has been coined as the Hawk Spike, his version of the Gronk Spike, of course from Rob Gronkowski. He's spiking the ball when he scores touchdowns. Furthermore, it was noted in training camp that his frame is so much bigger, so much wider this season. That's great. He's a professional athlete. He needs to be framed like one, especially when you're talking the tight end position. Of course, it's going to be important in the red zone, on third downs, and specifically on third and goals. A play that the Lions call a 4-point conversion. I really like that. I've never heard that before. That's the difference between a field goal and a touchdown. Not a 2-point conversion, a 4-point conversion. That's good stuff, man. He's going to come through for us in that situation. And even when we don't go to him in those situations, there will be a lot of attention on him where you can free up guys like Kenny Golladay and DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. Speaking of Kenny Golladay, the last thing I'm going to talk about is our wide receiver group. And wow, what a group it is. Per Tim 20 Man, Kenny Golladay is looking as sharp and as great as ever. He said that this is the year that he comes from a great receiver to an excellent elite receiver, along the likes of DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas. What he mentioned is, in the NFL, when it's third down and 10, you know that the offense is going to try to get the ball to their absolute best receiver, guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas. This needs to be the year where Kenny Golladay really gets a lead and comes through. Even though the defense is spying on him, paying close attention to him, he still finds a way to get open. This is the year it happens. When you can create separation like that, even when all eyes are on you, that makes you the best of the best. That will be his claim to stake this year. Let's see if he can make it happen. Now, the Lions were the only team in the entire NFL last year who had 3 guys with at least 60 grabs and 675 yards in 2019. That's not exactly shocking given how much weapons we have and how well they distribute the football. But it is kind of shocking when you say, hey, Stafford was only there for half of that. The number 2 guy in that receiver group is, of course, Marvin Jones Jr. He's said to be having an excellent training camp. They said that he had a one-handed over-the-shoulder grab over Jeff Okudah that was a sight to see. The number 3 guy, the slot position, is Danny Amendola. He's also having a good training camp. They said that he is one of the best in one-on-one situations. That is something that we desperately need, a slot guy who can beat the guy lining up in front of him. That's what the Patriots have been so successful with in the past, and that's what we're trying to emulate here this year. It's also important to note that it's being reported that all 3 of those guys are understanding their roles as leaders on the team, and they're really coaching up the young guys. One of those young guys is a receiver out of Wisconsin, Quintez Cephus. Now, for a lot of analysts and a lot of Detroit Lions fans, Cephus was a bad pick even given the round that he was picked. However, Tim 20 Man and a couple others are already noting that Cephus is extremely coachable and has been learning from day one and has gotten better from the get. They said that he's there to learn, he wants to learn, and that's going to make him a better player in the long run. He seems to be a very professional athlete. Jamal Agnew, as you may know, has moved from the defensive side of the ball to what wide receiver coach Robert Prince says the good side of the ball, which is the offensive side of the ball. He says that Agnew is a special runner and they're going to do everything they can on offense to get the ball in his hands in space so that he can create magic with it, which makes perfect sense because we've seen him on punt returns, of course. That guy's electric. There's so much that an offensive coordinator can do with that kind of ability, and to have that kind of weapon at your disposal is awesome. In fact, that's something to be bragged about with the Lions in general. They have a guy that can go up and get it with Kenny Golladay. They have a big tight end that they can hit across the seams in TJ Hawkinson. They have people that can go deep like Marvin Jones Jr. and a guy that I'm about to talk about here in a little bit. They have Jamal Agnew, who can create in space, and they have Danny Amendola, who can go and get the short yardage, outs, ins, slants, all that good stuff, up the middle, really take hits, and really get the job done for his team. I love the flexibility of this wide receiver and tight end group. So lastly, you have the guy that I just alluded to in Marvin Hall. Last season, he averaged 37.3 yards per catch. Now, he only caught 7 balls, but he had limited action. So we know he can go and get the deep ball, which takes some pressure off of Marvin Jones Jr. and in a sense, Kenny Galladay, who also had that ability. But Robert Prince says that Marvin Hall is not just a deep guy, and they're ready to show that this year. They said he has excellent breaks and cuts out of his routes. He'll be special to watch in the opportunities that he does get. All in all, I'm absolutely not one of those optimistic Lions fans. I'm usually more glass half empty. I typically just assume the worst for this team, as I imagine a lot of you do as well. But if you ask me to grade this offense as a whole, I would honestly give it a B+ or an A- with the ability to do even better, A or A+. They are very capable and talented enough to be among the best in the league on that side of the football. Name me a weakness that the Lions do have. I don't know if we can do it. For me, the biggest weakness would be the right side of the offensive line, but even those guys are very talented and capable of getting the job done, and they have good coaches who can coach them up. I expect fully for the Lions to come through in a big way in 2020 and really move the football and score some points on the board, with the defense letting us down more often than not, unfortunately, until we can plug some holes on that side of the football. Still though, definitely headed in the right direction and a lot to look forward to if you're a Lions football fan for life. And hey, if you are that, we'd love for you to join this community here on Intermittent Sports, where we cover the Detroit Lions, Detroit Pistons, Detroit Tigers, and Michigan Wolverines. All the sports in the Mitten State, thus Intermittent Sports. For the Lions specifically, me and my boy Phil Chinnery are going to be commentating on the games live. We're going to have podcasts that you can call into in the future when we get more subscribers. We're going to do preview videos like this and other funny skits. All Lions, all Tigers, all Pistons, all Wolverines, all the time. So hey, if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and like this video if you liked it. Subscribe right here, as I said earlier. Hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the Michigan sports action. And until next time, God bless and go Lions.